Okay, let me get this straight. Since Hakuri awakened his Storehouse ability in the Rakuzachi arc, the goal for them is to now just meet the sword bearers, then allow Hakuri to register them in his Storehouse, and by extension, he'll be able to pull the swords that also has their spirit energy into his Storehouse. Basically stealing back the Eternal Blades from the Hishaku. Man, that sounds like a good plan, right? Almost too good. Let's just get a quick update as to where everyone is, or the state of the battlefields currently. Chihiro's at the theaters with Hirohiko. It looks like they're about to get interrupted by Hirohiko's Amazon delivery. And it's getting delivered by drones, actually. Yura, well, I do not know where the hell he is, but it looks like he's having the time of his life. Best Genius if he was a fashion TikToker from New York. We don't know where he is. Now we cut on over to the temple where everyone's at. Oh, no, not that. Yep, that's the one. Here we have the Hishaku member that always wears the hat, the one that looks like a kneecap. He also has that whispering eye. Him, along with the lackeys wielding the Detensky stones. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but we just gonna move forward. They are attacking the temple with the hopes to get rid of Uraha and Samura, which would free up 2 of the Eternal Blades that they stole. Samura just gave Uraha a haircut while his silent fan club glazes him in silence. And of course, Hakuri is there. But as of right now, he's not just any old Hakuri. He is edgy Hakuri. That's my favorite version of him. So you know some dope shit's about to happen. So now that we're all caught up, I just want you to keep in mind that this is a fun what if scenario that is technically possible with the information we currently have. So keep an open mind to it. Maybe you might get an idea or theory that splinters off from my idea, or maybe you might just have a theory in general you want to share. Drop it in the comment section. I'd love to hear it. So here's where I'm going with this. Hakuri possibly loses access to his Storehouse from overusage at an early stage of development. Now, a reveal like that may come off as a bit uninspired, but it would make sense, especially for him having to use it the strenuous way he did right after awakening it. There's already been statements about overusage could lead to death. I mean, let's just be real here. It's a pretty convenient ability to come across Chihiro at like the perfect time. Not only that, it also gives him a little bit more security thinking about the future once they actually have them. By the way, I'm not saying that Hakuri's subspace is like bad for the story or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just setting up a what if and approaching it realistically. I don't think it makes Chihiro's journey super easy though, because the Hishaku alone proved to be a huge hurdle for Chihiro. So even with Hakuri's storage space, it will be tough. It just feels like the Storehouse answers a lot of future problems. And I wanted to come up with a theory or a what if scenario on how Hakuri could remain just as important as he is now, even with losing the Storehouse. Alright, so let me set the scene. We know where the last chapter left off. Hakuri begins to use his ability and talks about he didn't risk his life yet. Famous last words, right? He's gonna live, we know that. But by forcing his ability to activate, kills his ability to access the Storehouse going further. Don't worry though, he makes it count. He actually manages to register Uraha and Samura, and he manages to actually bring their swords to their battlefield, which we know the swords were on their way to Hirohiko. Some of you may be thinking, well, why didn't he just put them in his Storehouse along with him and get out of there? Well, that could be for 2 reasons. One, he might instinctively know or feel that is all he could muster up. That is all he had left for access to the Storehouse. And the second reason would be he doesn't want to see anyone die, and he feels that could turn the tide of battle, that could win it for them. He doesn't want to see people sacrifice themselves. He also wants to prove himself that he is an equal to Chihiro. He could be his right-hand man. With him not being 100%, he only could bring the swords to the battlefield. He couldn't give it to them perfectly. So they kind of got dropped in a bad spot. And I know y'all won't like this next part, but I have a bad feeling that Uraha and Samura get taken down. You're being somewhat aware of Hakuri's development during the Rakuzachi arc. He planned for this with a trump card. The trump card Hirohiko doesn't want to use. But once both blades get put on the battlefield, the chaos swells. And the trump card, whatever it may be, gets played here. The first 2 arcs played out nicely for Chihiro's group, but this arc may change their string of good luck. We lose 2 heroes, but they go out like badasses. Before Samura takes his last breath, he entrusts Tobimune his enchanted blade to Hakuri. Hakuri can feel he lost connection to his storehouse for good, but he only lost access to it. It's still technically a part of him. So he accepts the enchanted blade, and as a sorcerer with 2 different abilities, he loses the storehouse, but becomes the first enchanted blade wielder who also has his sorcery, Iso. Hokuzono can always fluff Hakuri's character up a bit, saying that he did train and try to practice to become a Tao, so he has basic knowledge about swords and weapons. And, you know, his Iso has to be pretty close to like what the Tao use in terms of output, because he is a genius, and after he opened up the storehouse, it all kind of sped up his development. There is one enemy left standing right before them, and that's the hat-wearing Hishaku. Uraha and Samura managed to kill just about everybody else, and they even managed to damage the Hishaku sorcerer a great deal, so he is nowhere near full health. But Hakuri must summon all the energy he has left to face the sorcerer that was present during Chihiro's father's execution. The resolve to help Chihiro see his objective through and the memory of a true hero entrusting a precious sword to him wills Hakuri to overcome his opponent. He won not because of his abilities or using the sword like a genius. It was him outsmarting his opponent. Samura tossed his sword to Hakuri, but Uraha got swept up in a large attack from the tree, so neither the Hishaku sorcerer or Hakuri knew exactly where Uraha's sword went. But they both knew that if the Hishaku sorcerer got his hands on that sword, it's game over. But Hakuri manages to locate it first, and he uses that to his advantage to trick his opponent and land a decisive blow. And of course Hokuzono would play with us because he would not let us in on the fact that Hakuri located the blade first. We of course would find that out after the fact. But now that the dust has settled, the battle's over, Hakuri not even thinking about the other enchanted blade, he starts to look for survivors. And he finds no one. He finds out that all good and bad guys lost their life at the temple that day. But then he hears something. He turns around and sees the silhouette of one person walking towards him. It's the silhouette of a child. It just so happens to be the commander of the Makazumi, which, might I remind you, he idolized Samura. He can't accept Samura's death and blames the enchanted blades for it, which that sounds kind of familiar, right? Remember Kazane, the sorcerer who lost his arm that was a part of the anti-Sojo squad? Well, he seemed to have a vendetta against the enchanted blades, and now maybe the commander of the Makazumi possibly could team up with him to create a third party that runs parallel to Chihiro and the Hishaku. It would be pretty interesting to have a group spring up of good guys that had bad encounters with the enchanted blades, so they want to get rid of them for a different reason. Still on the good side, but maybe that gets tainted down the line and the line starts to get blurred. Well, that's a different theory for another video. And if you are interested in me doing something like I did for this video, where I create a supplemental story to back a theory, you know, just in fun, like what if. I mean, it could be where you agree on the actual outcome of this video or the theory of this video, but you don't like the story beats that I came up with. That's all cool, it's just a what if. As well as me trying to present a theory video in a different way, I personally think Hakuri wielding an enchanted blade and using Iso down the road would be really cool. I can imagine Hokuzono cooking some dope panels. But that'll do it for me. I appreciate you staying for the whole video. Like and subscribe. And remember, stay normie, stay weeb. Shit, even in between is fine. Until next time, peace.